Tiffany Smiley, a Republican Senate candidate in Washington state, is embarking on a bus tour. She's calling it the New Mom in Town 2.0 tour, where she'll be traveling around the state in the lead up to the election, trying to make the case as to why she believes she should replace longtime Washington state Senator Patty Murray, a Democrat. But just as that bus tour embarked, Tiffany Smiley's campaign made a stop outside the Undivided studio.
Hello!
And she brought along with her a campaign surrogate, Iowa Senator Joni Ernst. I sat down with both of them to talk about what's at stake in this election and some of the key issues that undecided voters are contemplating.
Nice bus.
Thanks.
Great. That's exciting. So what's the plan with the bus?
We want to take it all over Washington state, and I will finish this race how I started it, talking directly to the voters. I've been in all 39 counties, so we have 46 cities, 46 stops all across Washington state, and I'm excited.
Well, I'm honored that our studio is one of the stops on your bus.
Absolutely.
Right? Senator, what are you doing here in Washington?
I obviously am here to support Tiffany Smiley. It's really important that we have effective leadership in the United States Senate, and Tiffany is a compassionate, caring leader. She cares about families, she cares about her communities, she cares about the great state of Washington. So I want to see Tiffany win this election, and I'm happy to get out there and hopefully encourage people to go vote.
There are Senate races that are, according to polling, closer than this one. Your seatmate Chuck Grassley is one of them. I think there's been some polls that have that race within 3 points. So if we're looking at polling, is your time better spent elsewhere if we're to believe that Tiffany's maybe 8 points behind?
I actually don't believe a lot of the polls out there. If you had looked at the poll done 2 years ago on my own race, I would have been losing in that poll. But I won by nearly 8 points. So I have very little confidence in some of the polls. And I do think with the type of leadership that Tiffany is bringing to the state of Washington and voters' reactions to her, they really want someone who's working for Washington. And we have not seen that from Patty Murray.
You've worked with Patty Murray for 7 years?
8 years.
What do you think of her
8 years.
as a senator?
So the way I'll describe this, again, we're looking for effectiveness. And of course, I'm a Republican, so I'd love to have a Republican colleague. But in 8 years in the United States Senate, I have passed 43 bills, authored by me, signed by Presidents Obama, Trump, and Biden. And Patty Murray, in 30 years in the United States Senate, has had 9 bills signed into law.
I didn't know that statistic. I don't have the facts to check it in the moment, but I'll go back. That would be a stunning statistic if true. Tiffany, I want to play devil's advocate with having Senator Ernst here as a campaign surrogate. The Democrats are already using it against you. It took all of 2 minutes after you announced she was going to be here.
I don't know why.
Well, allow me to tell you why. Yeah, I'm not saying you're not a pleasant woman. Very nice. I love the Midwesterners. But you know one of the key issues in this race is abortion. And you have one of the most ardent pro-life senators in the country campaigning for you, someone who supported national abortion bans in the past. Is this the best person to have here with you?
Yes, Senator Ernst is a farm girl, is a fighter, was a single mom, has delivered results over and over in her own personal life and for this country. You know, I've been very clear on my abortion stance. It belongs with the people. Politicians shouldn't be deciding it. That's exactly what the Supreme Court decision did. And I wish career politicians like Senator Murray wouldn't use it as a fear tactic. She's trying to scare women all over Washington state. Nothing changes here. And I have been clear about that from the beginning. I oppose a federal abortion ban. You know, if you talk to Senator Ernst, she would tell you all of the Democrats she's worked with. Look at the bills that she's passed. That means she's working with others. 9 bills from Senator Murray, you know what that means? She doesn't work with others. Washington state needs a senator who will go to DC and work with others to deliver results.
But on the optics and giving them, in the final stretch of the campaign, ballots in hand, sort of this, oh, look who she brought here, someone who wants to defund Planned Parenthood, someone who has supported in the past and had her name on, you know, introducing abortion bans. You don't see how they're going to take that and say, she's not the
I'm not afraid to be Tiffany Smiley and stand on my own 2 feet. I've been clear too. I'm not here to take funds away from Planned Parenthood. They offer health care to women, and that's great. I'm here to fight for Washington State. And while abortion is a major issue, sure, nothing changes in Washington State, like I've said. But there's people suffering under the inflation that Senator Murray has caused. I mean, I'll never forget the image of a single mom in Kent, Washington, going into the Safeway, leaving her little girls in a parking lot to play like it was their backyard. They were living out of their car. She was going in clearly just to get something to eat for the night. She doesn't care about Patty Murray's electric vehicle voucher. She needs gas prices lower. She needs childcare. She needs a hand up. That's who I'm fighting for.
And I want to talk about inflation as a priority for Republicans if they can retake the House or the Senate. But on the abortion issue, to put a bow on it, Senator, she has promised the people of the state, and I'm myself, this is an opinion show, you might not know.
Right.
I am a moderate. I do not support a federal abortion ban. A lot of people listening don't as well. So if Tiffany Smiley, brand new United States Senator, goes to D.C., are you and your colleagues going to bully her, pressure her into not staying true to her word on that issue?
I think what you find with Republicans is that we have a very big tent with a lot of divergent views. I don't see that in the Democratic Party. We have many pro-choice Republican senators, and she's not even saying she's pro-choice. She's pro-life, but she respects the will of the people of Washington. So no, I will not be bullying Tiffany Smiley.
You don't look like a bully, but you know, there are some bullies in the Senate.
And that's important because no, even in my own race at that time, I was ranked as one of the most bipartisan senators of either party over the past 25 years. And that's what we want folks in Washington know and understand is that the bills that I have worked on that have been signed into law, things like the reauthorization of the Violence Against Women Act, that was a very personal bill to me, having gone through rape, having gone through domestic violence at the hands of my former husband. All of those issues really get to the soul of women. And they want someone that will be an advocate and fight on those very personal issues. Tiffany Smiley is that person. And that's why I'm here, is because I want a colleague that will work with people, whether they're Republican, Independent, or Democrats, because that's what I do. And I get results. Clearly, you can see that with Patty Murray, 30 years in the United States Senate, and she's achieved 9 bills. So it tells me that Patty is either not working or not looking to work with people across the aisle.
So you'll stand up to Senator Ernst, to any other senator who wants to float a piece of legislation that would restrict or ban abortion in this country?
Absolutely. It belongs here with the people of Washington State. I've been very clear about that. I think it's also important to bring up the Newsweek article that came out as well on Senator Murray. Her former national security advisor endorsed me and is behind me all the way. Senator Murray told her she had pushed her luck when she had her second child 2 years apart from her first. That's shocking. You know, that is shocking. So who is Senator Murray? Has she really been fighting for us? Has she been fighting for women? She hasn't accomplished child care for us. I'm there to make sure that women have access to contraception, affordable access, timely access to contraception, to health care, and childcare. Unlike Senator Murray, I'll go get that done. I'll fight for working moms. I'll fight for single moms. I was absolutely shocked by those allegations. And you know, my message to Senator Murray is, your luck has run out. It's time for change.
Let's talk about inflation. It's one of these issues that it's good for Republicans going in. I mean, not that anybody wants families to be suffering, but obviously it's one of those things that Republicans can point to and say Democratic leadership just isn't working. But what can you do? I mean, what is job number one for you in trying to lower costs for American families?
Yes, we have to stop and rein in the out-of-control spending that is going on, that has caused this inflation. We don't need seniority in Washington State. We need motivation and we need principle. That is clear now, but now more than ever. So we need to rein in the out-of-control spending. We can work on permanently extending the 2017 tax cuts for the middle class. And we certainly need to get back to energy independence, to lower gas prices for hardworking Washington families. That will help offset the costs of inflation. Patty Murray, tax and spend is the name of her game. We cannot afford another 6 years of this.
Senator, do you in the Senate, does the GOP already have sort of a list of priorities if they can take back the Senate? And what's at the top of that list for you guys?
Well, of course, we are prioritizing those issues as we're coming through the election season and anticipating a majority in the United States Senate. But what I am focused on moving forward, if we gain that, or when we gain that majority, I will have the gavel for small business, the Small Business Committee, which is really important in Washington. It's really important in Iowa. 98% or more of our businesses in Iowa are small business. So finding ways that we can work with our small business owners and create greater opportunity is really important. Childcare is an issue that I have been working on with a whole list of Democratic senators that doesn't include Patty Murray. So there are a number of issues that I think should be a priority as we can get moms and dads back into the workforce, knowing that their children are at a safe daycare facility, knowing that they will be cared for, and that it's affordable for them. I think those are the things that will matter. Those are my priorities going into the new year.
Tiffany, you had a really emotional moment at the, I'm not going to call it a debate, was it a town hall?
It was a debate.
It looked like a town hall. I didn't like you guys seated. That's always weird to me.
I agree.
With the moderator in the middle.
Those were not my rules.
Well, and I'll just ask, Patty Murray refused the two debates
Yeah.
sanctioned by the coalition, which
Yeah.
I believe are a more effective gauge
Yep.
of the ability to actually debate the issues. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. It's really a slap in the face to the voters of Washington State, because Senator Murray talks about democracy, but the cornerstone of our democracy, of any healthy democracy, is debate. And allowing the voters to know the decision in front of them. She accepted this one debate that we had after ballots dropped. That is unacceptable. You've been there for 30 years. What are you afraid to stand up and debate? And I think it was clear she didn't have answers for the future. She doesn't have solutions to combat the rising cost of inflation. She doesn't have answers to lower gas prices. She doesn't have answers to crime. She says she's fighting every single day. And if seniority really mattered, why are we facing a crisis at every turn in Washington State? Why didn't she stand up for us? Why didn't she say no to the Inflation Reduction Act that actually does nothing to reduce inflation? It raises taxes on everyone. She was the deciding member in a vote for the excise tax on natural gas. So Washingtonians' energy prices are going to be going up heading into winter. Why wasn't she standing up for us? There's an electric vehicle voucher in there. That mom in Kent, Washington doesn't need that.
You said during the debate, which I thought it was, I don't know if it was a planned retort you had or if it just came to you in the moment when she was talking about, stolen elections and it being a danger to our democracy to elect Republicans or give them control. And you talked about how your husband lost his eyesight defending our country's democracy. But you said something at the end I wanted to ask you about. You said that she has spent millions of dollars painting you as someone who you're not.
Do you believe that me and my family are a threat to democracy, Senator Murray? Because tell everyone here today, either that or disavow your campaign's dangerous rhetoric that has spent millions of dollars to attack and paint me as someone I am not.
Who is she trying to paint you as?
It seems that she, if you look at her ads, an extreme MAGA Republican. What is that, Senator Murray? What is that? That's who Tiffany Smiley and Scott Smiley are? I'm here to unite. If she really cared about uniting Washington State, she would do it, but she doesn't. It's about the national DC. She'll do whatever DC tells her to do. So DC told her to run these ads that further divide our state and our country. Our family has skin in the game in this country. I want to see Washington State succeed. I want to see this country succeed. If you want that, you don't run ads like Senator Murray's been running.
You posted on Twitter recently, I think it was from 2018, Patty Murray on the Senate floor talking about you and your family.
Tiffany, like so many military spouses, didn't think twice about whether she would care for her husband and their growing family. It was just a matter of how she could do it. To this day, Tiffany is an amazing advocate for the caregiver program and what it has meant to her and to her family. She describes both the good days and the bad days, so those of us not in her shoes can understand at least some of the challenges they face. She does it because she knows she's not alone.
And I don't think anybody can deny you guys have a heartbreaking but remarkable story.
It's the American dream.
And you also in the past have said nice things about Patty Murray. In our very first interview, I brought up a picture a few years ago you posted side by side thanking her for her work for Washington families. Yeah. Do you stand by that sentiment? Do you still share that sentiment about Patty Murray?
Yeah, that's who I am. I will work with anyone. But look, I saw a lack of leadership over this last several years when our kids were shuttered out of school for over a year and a half. I'm a mom of 3 school-aged boys. Senator Murray was nowhere to be found. She was a champion of shutting down schools. She even went to the Senate floor and stopped a bill from allowing parents to decide if we should mask our children or not. I saw the damage that it did. So have parents all over Washington state. And then she went on the Senate floor June of 2020, called for funds to be diverted from our police force, and she disappeared and went into hiding while our city was ravished. Crime is all over Washington state, hurting our communities. We're less safe. Why didn't she stand up for us? I'm not talking bad about Senator Murray. I'm talking about her policy. I'm talking about the issues that are facing Washington families. That's what this election is about.
Senator Ernst, as our time ticks down here, what do you believe is at stake for the country?
I think everything that Tiffany just outlined is what's at stake in our country. It's, do we stand up and make sure that we have law enforcement in our communities? Do we stand up and make sure fentanyl is not flooding through our communities and killing our children? Do we make sure that we have a strong national defense, which should be a priority with our federal government? Do we stand up and make sure that we are fostering a spirit of unity in both the United States Senate, in our House, and across our nation? Or are we going to continue ranting and raving about dividing the parties? I hear it from Iowans. I've even heard it with my time here in Washington State with Tiffany. The people really want us to come together. Tiffany has been preaching this out on the trail about coming together and working with everyone. And if you have shared ideas, why would you not work with someone? It's exactly what I do, and I see a lot of that reflected in Tiffany. People are hungering for leadership that will bring the nation together. We're at a point now where we need to do that. We don't want a divided nation. We want people to come together in unity and fight for their constituencies and make sure that we're doing the right thing. And that's what's at stake. Our nation is at stake. Do we stand together or do we fall divided?
We'll end with you, Tiffany. Give you the last word. For the moderates who are watching, for the independents who are watching, for the undecided voters who are watching, ballot in hand, what is your pitch to them?
Yeah, I've taken on big government before, and I took it on for my husband, and then I went back and took it on for every Democrat, Republican, and independent service member in their family. That's who I am. And I've said from the beginning, when Washington State sends me to Washington, D.C., I will fight for all of them. I will take on Washington, D.C. and stand up and do what's right for Washington State. We need lower cost of living, lower gas prices. We can do this. The gas prices do not have to be what they are now. We will ensure that our national security is safe and secure, and that our children have competitive, quality education. I want to lead the nation from Washington State on education. And boy, do we need it now more than ever.
Now, one of the things that was brought up in that interview by both Tiffany Smiley and Senator Ernst was that in her 30-year Senate career, Patty Murray has only seen 9 of her bills signed into law. And I didn't have, obviously that's a statistic that just came out of nowhere, and so I didn't have the numbers to be able to fact check it in the moment, but I don't think that's a fair representation of her work in the Senate. According to GovTrack, which tracks legislation and tracks the actions of members of Congress. 34 bills that Patty Murray was a sponsor on ended up becoming law. So that is over a 30-year career. So think what you may about 34 bills, but it's not 9. So I think where the discrepancy comes in is what Senator Ernst and Tiffany Smiley are talking about are bills in the Senate that Patty Murray was the key sponsor on, that a president signed into law. But what happens, obviously, is sometimes bills that you introduce will be folded into other pieces of legislation and then will pass as part of those pieces of legislation. So I think a more accurate and a more fair number would be 34 bills that belong to Senator Patty Murray have become law during her time in the Senate. I will also note that we did reach out to the Patty Murray campaign to invite her and or a surrogate in to discuss her campaign. We do know that Vice President Kamala Harris is in the Seattle area today and appeared alongside Patty Murray, spoke at the same event on electric school buses.
Can you raise your hand if you love a yellow school bus, right? There's something about and most of us, many of us went to school on the yellow school bus, right?
You know, I questioned Tiffany Smiley on whether Senator Ernst was really the best campaign surrogate to bring in, considering a key issue, especially for swing voters, is abortion. And I gotta wonder if Vice President Kamala Harris is the best campaign surrogate for Patty Murray to bring in the days leading up to the election. I mean, there's a lot of Democrats who don't want Joe Biden within a mile of their state, given his low approval rating. And I can't imagine that Vice President Kamala Harris's approval rating is through the roof either. So it's an interesting choice, I think, for me, if you're particularly trying to appeal, which at this stage in the election, you've obviously got people who are in their camps and they're not going to move. But I think for moderate voters, undecided voters, independent voters, I don't know whether Vice President Kamala Harris is someone who's going to move the needle.